Welcome to It's All Geek to Me, a podcast where two friends experience popular nerdy franchises for the first time. My name is Leah, and this season my co-host Kelli and I will be traveling to a galaxy far, far away as Kelli experiences Star Wars for the very first time. And I'm the expert. Let's dive in.
Are we back?
We're back!
Oh my gosh, we're back?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm acting so excited because I gotta tell you, I'm mad.
You're mad. Yeah, you're not having a good time right now.
I texted Leah when I was ready after I finished watching this movie, and I was like, I'm ready and I'm very angry.
I agree. I also hated it, but there were cool parts.
I get it now. I get it.
You're understanding. Mm-hmm.
So we start off with yoga.
Well, he was doing yoga.
So we
kind of.
So we start out with Yoda. He is meditating, and Windu comes in, and Yoda says that something bad has happened because young Skywalker is in terrible pain.
And were you watching with the subtitles on?
Yes.
Well, Yoda was hearing someone say, Anakin, no, and in the subtitles it said Qui-Gon. So Qui-Gon in his Force Ghost form was kind of seeing what Anakin was doing and trying to stop him.
Yeah, from his mass murder.
Yeah.
We'll get into. So meanwhile, we've got Obi, and he is trying to get a message to Coruscant, but it is too far because his ship got a little bit damaged. And he's like, oh, maybe I can reach Anakin in Naboo. So he starts trying to send him a message, but guess what? Anakin's not there because Anakin's in Tatooine.
Because Anakin does not know how to listen to directions.
No. So then he kind of widens his search, realizes that he's in Tatooine, and he's like, dude, WTF. But
what are you doing there?
He does send him a message. And meanwhile, we see this bug-like alien is watching him, which is foreshadowing. So meanwhile, we see the message getting to R2-D2, but Anakin is not on the ship. He is actually getting off of a little speeder thing, and he's bringing Shmi's body back home, and the family is looking very sad as he brings her in. And then we cut to him working on a piece of machinery, and Padme walks in and she's like, oh, I brought you food. And he's really sad because he couldn't save her. And Padme says, sometimes there's things that no one can fix. You're not all powerful. And here's where things take a crazy turn.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Because he's like, well, I should be, and someday I will be. I promise that. I'm even going to learn how to stop people from dying. And then he starts blaming Obi, and he's like, this is Obi's fault. He's jealous. He's holding me back. And Padme is like, what's wrong, Annie? Which I'm like, dude, you know what's wrong. He just watched his mom die. What? Why are you asking?
And also, if he was acting this way too, like Padme, I'd be like running for the hills. But she's all about it. She loves the broken boy that she can fix or something. I don't understand it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, at this point, I think she just loves him because she thinks she can fix him.
Yeah.
I mean, at least she's happy, but...
Wait, I just read my notes.
Oh, no.
I wrote, imagine being in love with this turd.
I can't.
I don't remember writing that.
So then Anakin says that he not only killed all of the raiders, but he killed all of the women and children too. And I just wrote in all caps, WTF. And then he says, they're like animals. So I slaughtered them like animals. And Padme is looking rightfully horrified. But then he like sits on the ground and she sits next to him. And she's like, to be angry is to be human. And I'm like, first of all, it's not a really human response to mass murder people, including women and children.
Yeah, an entire village.
And then he's like, I'm a Jedi. I should know better than this. Or I know I'm better than this. Something like that.
Yeah. She definitely was just comforting him as if he just got mad. But no, he didn't get mad. He murdered an entire village of Tusken Raiders.
So then we've got Klieg. He's holding a funeral for Shmi. And obviously he's very sad. The family is sad. And then Anakin kind of gets to his knees at her grave. And he says, I wasn't strong enough to save you, but I promise I won't fail again. And then he says he misses her, which made me really sad for him because I mean,
he has moments where he's normal.
Honestly, when he has moments on film where Padme is not there and they don't have a romance, even though he is an unlikable character, I still like him. Like, I think he's still cool. But when he is with her, he instantly becomes a creep.
Yeah, 100%. Also, did you notice he was in black and everyone was in white in this scene?
It actually made me a little curious because I was wondering, based on their outfits, well, what do you wear to a funeral in Tatooine?
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking at this moment was when I was like, Padme changes her clothes way too often. She's like in a new outfit every single scene. But it does seem like what she's wearing now may be something she borrowed because it feels like it's Tatooine garb.
Yeah, although there's like a variation of it that she wears for the rest of the film.
No, she's in this the entire time, but it does rip at some point.
Yeah. There becomes less and less as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
And then R2-D2 pops in and he has Obi's message about Dooku and the Trade Federation trying to kill Padme, aka Amidala, and Windu talking to Anakin, and they're like in a little FaceTime chat, and he says that he has to stay put. He has to protect the senator. That is his job. And Padme is like not for it. And she's like, no, we got to go save Obi. And Anakin is like, you heard him. I have to stay here and protect you. And she's like, no, your job was to protect me. I'm going to go save him. So if you want to protect me, you have to come too. And I was like, oh, Eye Patch Guy from the beginning of the movie was right. She is an idiot.
Yeah, seriously. But also all of a sudden, like Anakin just like listens to instructions.
Yeah, I think he was just being depressed because he was just at his mom's funeral.
That's true. I forgot that just happened 5 seconds ago.
Yeah. So then we see Obi-Wan, and he has clearly been captured by the bug guy who was watching him. Now he's in this weird little prison where he's kind of just floating. And Count Dooku is there. And Obi is like, you're a traitor. And Dooku is like, no, this is all a misunderstanding. And he says Qui-Gon spoke very highly of Obi and he wishes he was alive. And I guess I don't know if he implies it or he says it outright, but we find out that he was Qui-Gon's master. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
and then he's like, I wish he was alive because then he could, be a part of this. And Obi's like, he would never join you. And Dooku's like, don't be so sure. Dooku, sorry. Thinking like Sudoku. And then he explains to him that the Republic is under the control of the Dark Lord of the Sith and that there are hundreds of senators under the influence of Darth Sidious. And he says that Obi needs to join him to destroy the Sith. And Obi's like, I'll never join you. But like, here's where I'm getting confused again. Isn't he right though?
I mean, yes, he's right, but I wouldn't say that Dooku is trying to defeat the Sith.
Oh.
I would say it seems like he's the new apprentice to Darth Sidious now that he's lost Darth Maul.
I guess that's fair. Okay. But yeah, I mean, but he's not wrong. I mean,
he's not wrong.
What's going on.
He's not wrong. But he's definitely trying to trick Obi in a sense, because like he's not being truthful of like him wanting to fight the Sith, because that's definitely not true.
Well, meanwhile, speaking of Sidious, who I'm pretty sure is Palpatine, we've got Jar Jar Binks speaking to the Senate, and he is pushing to vote for Palpatine to get like some kind of power to be able to rule everything temporarily. And everyone's cheering. They're all on board with it. And Palpatine is like, I'm going to lay down my power as soon as this crisis ends, but my first act is to make a Republic army. Yeah. Which I'm like, everyone's making these armies. What's going on here?
Well, this was their attempt. It was an earlier scene, like when the Jedi were listening to Obi's message, they were kind of talking about this, and they're like, how can we use this clone army? And the way to use the clone army is to get the Senate to create an army. To do that, they give the power to the Chancellor. The Chancellor says, we'll make an army. Oh, look, we have an army. Now they can
what are
use
the odds? We happen to grow one.
10 years ago.
So then Windu says that he's going to go with the Jedi to find and save Obi-Wan, and then Yoda is going to go check out this clone army situation and go gather them. Yep. So I was actually very excited about that because I like their stories. Yeah, even though I did briefly think that Windu was going to be a bad guy, but now I know he's good.
Yeah, he's definitely not. I wasn't going to say anything.
He also has a purple lightsaber.
Oh, his is my favorite. If I had a lightsaber, it would be Windu's. I would
want a purple lightsaber as well. Yeah. I think that's the coolest color.
Purple or orange? I've never seen an orange lightsaber though.
Well, that's because that's the Sith lightsaber color. Just kidding. I have no idea.
That's red.
Is it? The red ones are are always the bad guys?
Always. So far, Maul had one, Dooku had one, and Vader had one.
I never noticed. I'm just like, ooh, pretty. So anyway, Anakin and Padme fly to the planet where Obi is on, which is called Geonosis.
Yeah.
Aren't you impressed that I wrote that down
very
and pronounced it correctly?
Good job. You're learning.
So then Padme tells Anakin to follow her lead, and she says she doesn't want to start a war. She wants to find a diplomatic solution. And I actually wrote down at this point when she was pulling on that little shrug, I was like, this outfit is great. I love this outfit.
Yeah, this is probably the most cosplayed
Famous.
for the character of Padme would be this outfit.
Although I would argue that her, after she gets it a little ripped up, is what I've seen more.
Oh yeah, for sure. You got to add the rip in.
But I like her outfit when it's all intact.
Yeah, me too. She looks really strong in it. I like it.
She does,
I'm a fan.
And then we get a little comedic relief moment with R2-D2 and C-3PO. Honestly, I don't think they really added much to the story, but they do keep on popping in for their little funny moments.
Yeah, I will say though, like in terms of the comedic relief, comparing The Phantom Menace to this, I felt like it was really overdone with Jar Jar Binks, but with C-3PO and R2-D2, like it was quick spurts here and there. It wasn't like full scenes, and it was still within the realm of what the other characters were doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really just feel like that was for the fans more than anything to have them included.
No, it was like a funny little callback and kind of showing how their relationship grew over time. And I will say, compared to Jar Jar Binks, I thought that this was a lot more tolerable. Like, I didn't mind this. I wasn't getting annoyed every time they were on screen, but I was like, do I have to write those down? It's not really important.
Not really.
So then Padme and Anakin go into this ominous room, and there's like all these little bug guys kind of scuttling around on the walls, and Anakin like has a moment where he like looks around and he's like, hold on, and I'm like, do you not notice these bug guys?
Apparently not. Apparently he can't sense them with his Jedi powers.
Yeah, can he sense them with his eyeballs? Because they're right there. So and also we get R2-D2, he like runs off to help them, and C-3PO follows him, and there's like a whole like, you have a lot to learn about humans. It's like, whatever. Point is, they're off the ship. They're going to help too. So then Anakin is surrounded by the bad guys, and he starts fighting them off, but they end up in this factory area because there's like a door that opens. They fall onto a conveyor belt, and Padme is trying to just avoid getting smashed by all of these like conveyor belt things, and Anakin is fighting them off. R2-D2 pushes C-3PO into the factory as well, and Padme is pushed into this big bucket that is clearly going to be filled with some sort of hot metal. C-3PO gets his head cut off, and it's put on another droid's body, which actually did make me laugh.
That was funny. I like that part.
Because at one point the droid was like, oh no.
Yeah, the droid voice is
droid voice is great.
He's like, my legs aren't working.
Yeah. That was good. And then C-3PO is like, oh no, I'm on this droid body. So good times, good times. And then Anakin gets smacked by this machine, and his hand gets trapped under a piece of metal. And I was like, does this count? But don't worry, it will later.
It will later.
And then Padme is about to get killed by the boiling metal, but R2-D2 shuts off her machine, so I guess she's saved. And then Anakin gets out of his metal, but he breaks his lightsaber, which I actually have a little bit of a problem with because later he uses his lightsaber, and I'm like, did anybody fix it?
He was given a lightsaber.
Oh, a new one? Oh, it happened to be the same color.
At the end, when all the Jedis come, that's the next time he uses a lightsaber. Yeah, someone throws him a lightsaber.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, same color.
So then we see Jango Fett, and he catches Anakin. He's got him surrounded, and so is Padme, and they get captured. And then they're on this, I don't even know what to call it, carriage, and they're tied up, and this is the worst part of the movie. Actually, that's not true. The last scene is the worst part of the movie.
The last scene is the worst part of the movie.
Second worst part of the movie, Anakin looks at her and he's like, don't be afraid. And she's like, I'm not afraid to die. I've died a little every day since you came back into my life. I love you.
Barf.
And he's like, you love me? I thought we decided not to fall in love because it'll destroy our lives. And at this point I was like, oh my gosh, this is the first rational thing he said. And then she's like, our lives are about to be destroyed anyway. I deeply love you. And then they kiss, which, by the way, Leah and I have had a lot of conversations over the years about kissing compatibility. And I just want to point out, these two are not kissing compatible.
They are not compatible at all. Their kisses are so awkward. They don't even look like they're touching.
It seems like they were like, we have to kiss, but we don't want to kiss in real life.
They seem like they hate it. Yeah.
They hate it. She's like kissing his chin. He's just kind of like sitting there letting her suck on him. It's not good.
The kiss at the end was pretty bad too.
The kiss at the end is the worst thing I think I've ever seen in my life. If I ever had a friend and they were like, oh, here's my partner, and they started kissing them like that, I would pull them aside and be like, hey, you need to break up with them because you guys are not compatible.
Like, it looked like they just didn't want to do it. And I don't know, like, there's just something about it. Very unsatisfying.
He's using the Force. That's my new theory.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That, honestly, I don't hate that theory.
There you go. I'll be writing that in my next fan fiction. So then they're pulled out with this carriage into an arena that is clearly where there's going to be some fun execution situation. And guess what? Obi-Wan is there and he's tied up too. And Obi's like, oh, I wasn't sure if you got my message. And Anakin is like, oh yeah, I got it. I sent it. Don't worry. And then we decided to come save you. And Obi's like, good job. Which was incredible.
Yeah.
So then these big scary monsters come out. They are there to execute them because someone was like, let the execution begin.
And Dooku's up there too with him.
Yeah. And so are the sad alien fishmen.
Yeah.
And Anakin says, my least favorite line in the film, I've got a bad feeling about this. What do you mean? You're about to be killed. What other feeling do you think would happen right now?
I've got a good feeling about this.
Yeah, like, uh-oh, this looks bad for me. Yeah, this is your execution. Of course you have a bad feeling about this. Nobody wants to be executed.
No.
So then they're... I didn't even notice what was happening because I was just watching Padme in the background getting out of her bindings. Because literally as soon as they started tying her up, she put something in her mouth. And I'm like, did nobody notice that?
So obviously. Yeah, it was so obvious. And her getting out of her bindings, like nobody cares. Or just
nobody
like,
cares.
her do it.
And then, I don't know, Obi said something. I wasn't even paying attention. And then Anakin was like, what about Padme? And Obi's like, she's fine.
Yeah, she's way better.
He like turns around and she's on top of her little tower that she was imprisoned on. And then the battle begins with the monsters and Padme gets her back ripped up and apparently her shirt conveniently rips to show her incredible abs.
Yeah, just because that's how shirts rip.
Just the abs. That's exactly how that happens. Yeah. And then Anakin gets on one and he's like riding it, but he falls off. He's getting dragged. Obi-Wan gets one of the guards' spears and he starts fighting the praying mantis looking guy who I personally thought was the coolest one.
Yeah.
And then Anakin
well.
uses the Force to control the dinosaur looking monster and he starts riding him again. Then he grabs Padme. She kisses him on the cheek. Gross.
Yeah,
and then Obi jumps on as well. And then Alien Fishman, aka the Viceroy, is like, Jango, finish them. You have to kill her. And Dooku is like, be patient. Don't worry. She's gonna die. And then droids surround the trio. But guess who's here? Windu.
Windu.
I was really excited to see him. So all the Jedi like come out to fight and everyone scrambles. And Dooku's like, that was very brave of you, but you're impossibly outnumbered. And I think Windu said something like, are you so sure about that? Or something. And then a whole big fight comes. All these droids come out. They're fighting the Jedi. C-3PO's body comes out with the droid head and he's like, my legs aren't working. Something's wrong, which is incredible. And then his head comes out and he's like, oh no, I'm in a battle. And he's like shooting people and he's like, I'm sorry.
He's like, I'm so sorry.
I don't mean to be doing this.
And he said something like, I'm programmed for etiquette, not for destruction.
Now I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I'm C-3PO, because he's just shooting people and he's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be doing this. And then we get Jango Fett. He jumps down. He joins the battle. And I don't know if it was Anakin using the Force, but one of the monsters does start attacking him. So he kills it. And then Windu is fighting Jango. And then he beheads him. And Boba Fett is watching, which is scary.
Boba saw. I feel so bad for him. He's just a little kid.
He's just a little clone.
Yeah.
So then the battle rages on. All this stuff is happening. At one point, Anakin says to Padme, you call this a diplomatic solution? And she's like, no, I call it aggressive negotiations, which is an echo of a joke that he made earlier in the film that I didn't think was important enough to repeat. But
honestly, I feel like I wouldn't hate this so much if I didn't hate these two characters. But I'm like, can you guys stop joking in the middle of a very serious battle?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
But it's just because I hate them. So, like, everything they say.
Yeah.
Well, I don't hate Padme. I just hate what Padme's doing to herself.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, even as much as I say I dislike Anakin, I'm still very curious about his story and I like to watch him. However, when the two of them are on screen together, it is excruciating.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
What did he say? I'm in agony. That's how I feel too.
I'm in agony. Yeah, so are we. So are we, dude.
So then Obi-Wan kills another one of the monsters. R2-D2 comes in. He pops C-3PO's head off, brings it to his body. C-3PO's making all sorts of puns. He's like, this is a drag. And then when he's next to his body, he's like, oh, I'm beside myself. Which is both hilarious and awful. So then at this point, it seems like the Jedi are just fully outnumbered, but then Dooku stops them and he's like, you fought valiantly, but now it's finished. Surrender and your lives will be spared. And Windu is like, we're not going to be hostages for you to negotiate with.
Also, this was a really cool scene. I don't want to forget to mention this, but seeing all of the Jedi fighting was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely fun. I don't know why, because it wasn't similar at all, but it like weirdly reminded me or made me think of if all like the avatars from Avatar The Last Airbender were fighting, it would kind of look like this.
Yeah, I could see
I don't
that.
know. And especially with all the different colored lightsabers, I was like, these are like the elements. But yeah, so then Dooku is like, all right, then you're going to die. And then guess who comes and saves them? I was hyped.
Yoda and the clones.
Yoda coming to kick some ass with the clones. And then the Jedi get onto the ship and they get away, except for R2-D2 and C-3PO.
I didn't notice that, but I guess so.
No, they are left behind.
Goodbye.
And then we also get a shot of Boba Fett holding his dad's head. Well, it's not his dad, his creator. I don't know what to call him. Well, he's basically his dad.
That's one of my favorite shots of the film. I really like it.
It is a cool shot. I could see some like artistic renderings of it.
Oh, yeah.
And then Yoda is talking to the crew and he says if Dooku escapes, he's going to rally more systems to his cause. And then we cut to Dooku kind of observing the situation in his little control room, and the Viceroy says that they have a huge army, and Dooku's like, how is that possible? And I'm like, how is that possible? Who did this?
Yeah, I'm honestly, every time I watch these films, I'm always like so confused as to like who created the clone army, but the thing is, all that matters is that the aliens on that planet think that they're for the Jedi. So if Master Yoda shows up and is like, yo, I'm here to claim my army, they're gonna be like, bet, here's your army.
Yeah. So then the battle continues on between the clones and the droids, and they also have these Federation starships that look like little mini Death Stars that I thought was interesting. And then Dooku says that his master won't let the Republic get away with this treachery, and I was like, who's his master? But I'm pretty sure it's Sidious, as we find out, right? Yeah. And then he says he's going to take this thing to Coruscant, which looks like plans for the Death Star, and he's like, they're going to be safe there.
Dun-da-da.
So then... This is crazy. He flies off in the scooter. Why? I don't know. And then we've got the clones blowing up some of the little mini Death Stars that are just starships. And Anakin and Obi see Dooku flying off and they're like, we got to follow him. And the guy who's piloting the ship was like, we don't have any more rockets. But they were like, that's okay. We can handle it. And then Padme falls off of the ship as it's speeding past. And Anakin wants to stop the ship and get her. And Obi is like, don't let your feelings get in the way. I can't fight Dooku alone. And Anakin is like, I can't leave her. And Obi is like, you're going to be expelled from the Jedi Academy if you don't like rein it in right now. Like, what would she do in this situation if she was the one who was still on the ship? And he gets really sad and he's like, she'd do her duty.
Yeah, that was the best part of the film, honest. Oh, the best part of Anakin in the film. Not the best part of the film. His best moment when he finally like listens to reason.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of cringe anyway.
The beginning was cringe. I think what he ended with.
It's just, I just can't get past how selfish he is. And I don't think that he came to any realization. I think he just realized that Obi wasn't going to let it stop no matter what. So he was just like, I guess I have no choice in the matter.
Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
think he could have ever been truly convinced. If he had control of the ship, it wouldn't even be a question.
Oh yeah, he'd be down there right away.
Yeah. So then they catch up to Dooku. They're in this, I don't know, room.
They're in this
They're
room.
in a room.
It doesn't have a big hole in the middle, which is a new change.
Yeah, definitely a change, but still a cool lightsaber battle room as we find out. And Obi starts approaching and he's got Anakin next to him and he's like, all right, here's the plan. You're going to come up to this one side.
Gosh.
And then Anakin's like, actually, no, I'm going to just fight him right now. So then he just rushes him, which is a stupid plan because this guy also has Jedi powers.
This is a terrible way to fight. This is how I play Fortnite, and that's why I'm really bad at it because I just rush in and get totally killed.
Yeah, he got his butt immediately kicked. He just got like zapped with lightning and thrown aside. And then Dooku says that his Jedi powers are stronger than Obi's and he tells him to back down. But Obi's like, nah, I'm going to fight you. So then they have a lightsaber battle. And honestly, I was feeling for Obi in this moment because Dooku was really throwing shade at him. He was like, Master Kenobi, you disappoint me. Yoda holds you in such high self-esteem, but you're not that good.
Oh, man.
Meanwhile, Padme wakes up and there's a clone that comes over to get her and she's like, no, we got to get a transport. We got to get back to Obi and Anakin for reasons unknown because I'm in love with him.
Because I'm in love with him.
Yeah.
Literally, that's it.
So then cut back to the cool battle and Dooku slashes Obi's arm. And for a minute I was hyped because I was like, does this count? But it doesn't.
I don't think it counts because he goes right for the leg right after.
So then he falls and then Anakin jumps in to save him. And then he actually for a time is wielding 2 lightsabers, which I thought was a cool moment.
Yeah, I wish that lasted longer.
Yeah,
it
of
ends
them broke
so fast.
quickly.
Yeah, like immediately.
Look, this guy's just a Padawan learner. He doesn't know what he's doing.
That's
but it was
true.
cool. And I think when we focus on how powerful he is, I really like his character. Not like still, because he's still very reckless, but I think he's more compelling when we just think of him in terms of like, this is the strongest Jedi power that has existed in, known time, basically.
And it's being left very unchecked.
Very, very unchecked, yeah.
Very.
So then they have this really cool battle kind of in the dark with the red and the blue lightsabers. Absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And then guess what happens?
What happens, Kelly?
Dooku cuts off his arm.
He sure does.
Oh my gosh, I was so excited, but also it was bad.
Yeah, but that's 2.
2, yeah. Now we have reached the 2 in the prequel count of arm chopping off.
Let's go.
And then Yoda pops in and they have like a little battle of words first because Dooku is like, you've interfered with our affairs for the last time. So he starts like trying to drop like these rockets, ? That are attached to the wall on Yoda, but Yoda's just kind of like floating them away with the Force. And then Dooku tries to collapse the ceiling on him, but Yoda's like, nope, I'm stronger than you. And then he says that he senses the dark side in Dooku. And then Dooku says he's become more powerful than any Jedi, including Yoda. And then he's like, obviously this battle isn't gonna work based on who's stronger with the Force. We're gonna have a lightsaber battle. And Yoda's like, you have much to learn, which I love.
Yeah. Don't underestimate Yoda. He's pretty cool.
Dude, the first thing I wrote down when he said that is I was like, that's unfair. Yoda is tiny and old. But then immediately when I tell you this little creature hopping around like it's nobody's business, doing flips, doing little sword tricks, he is good.
Yeah, he's good. He's good at what he does.
And then Yoda says, fought well, you have, my young Padawan. And I'm like, wait, was Yoda his master?
No, but I think Yoda is the strongest. He's the head of the council. And also calling him Padawan is kind of demeaning. An insult, he's not a Padawan.
Dude, I was thinking back to when I first heard Yoda's voice and I was like broken.
Yeah.
But I remember also when that happened, I was thinking to myself, like, this old guy, what does he even do? He just like tells people what to do. But in this scene, I was like, man, I almost wish that I had seen this first. Even though I appreciate having this as a prequel, I have so much more respect for Yoda now, just seeing how skilled he is. And especially considering he is old. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but I think in episode 4, 5, and 6, he was saying he's like 900 years old.
I think it was 800.
Okay, so he's at least in his 700s right now.
Yeah.
He's old.
He's very old.
And he's very spry for his age, I gotta say. So then the battle goes on, and I have to say, I can't decide which I prefer, but the battle between him and Yoda and the battle between him and Anakin with the darkness where the lightsabers are just showing their faces, 2 coolest moments in this film. I loved them.
Yeah.
But then Dooku tries to drop this like column on Anakin and Obi, who are still on the ground damaged, and Yoda has to go save them. But then Dooku gets away, and Padme actually arrives just in time to see him leaving, and her clones are like shooting at the ship, but they don't get it. Yeah. And then Dooku goes to Coruscant Coruscant, and he lands in some very ominous looking place, and he gets to Darth Sidious, and Dooku's like, the war has begun, and Sidious is like, excellent, everything is going to plan.
And in this scene, Sidious calls Dooku Lord Tyrannus, which was the name of the person that Jango Fett said he hired him.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
So Dooku is somehow related to the clones and the clone army, in that sense, because he's Lord Tyrannus, which I don't know if this is true. It's just like my brain working this way, but I feel like that's maybe his apprentice name, you know, the way that Darth Maul is Darth Maul, Anakin becomes Darth Vader. Maybe Lord Tyrannus is his apprentice name for Lord Sidious and the Sith.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. And then we cut to Obi. He's talking to Windu about what Dooku said about how Sidious is controlling people in the Senate. And Yoda says that Dooku is on the dark side. He could feel it. And then Windu is like, yeah, but regardless, we should keep a closer eye on the Senate.
Yeah.
And Obi's like, well, you have to admit, without the clones, it wouldn't have been a victory. And Yoda's like, a victory? This was not a victory. This is a war, the Clone Wars.
Yeah. This is the beginning of a war.
Which I was like, if the movie ends right after he says the Clone Wars have begun, that would be cool, but it didn't happen.
That would have been way better than this last scene.
Well, before we get to the last scene, I do want to say all the clones are kind of like shuffling around, whatever, doing their clone thing. And the Darth Vader music was playing.
I'm so proud of you. Because I was going to mention that, and I didn't know if you would have noticed.
As I was writing it down, I was like, Leah's going to be hyped that I noticed.
I'm so proud of you that you noticed that. Yay!
And I wrote, why are they playing for the clones? I thought the clones were on the good guys' side, and then it immediately cut to Palpatine. And I was like, is this a sign that Palpatine is evil? Because everything is a sign that Palpatine is evil because he's evil.
But we also know, like, the clones are on the side of the Jedi now, but we know that, you know, they look like stormtroopers.
That's true.
It's like foreshadowing the evil to come.
Yeah. Speaking of evil that's coming, the last scene
is the evilest of them all.
I can't even begin to express my fury. I just wrote in all capitals, what the bleep? Is Padme marrying Anakin? Because it certainly looks like a little bit of a marriage.
Yeah, that is what happened.
Two things. Thing number one, he has a very cool metal hand.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Cool.
Thing number two, that kiss is the worst kiss I've ever seen in my lifetime, and I want to claw my own eyes out.
Same. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. I hate that kiss so much, passionately.
You know, I was cringing. What was it? Episode 4 when they had that really awkward kiss between Luke and Leia. And I was like, that was a bad kiss. That was not good. That kiss, if you compared the two, the kiss between Luke and Leia is the most passionate, beautiful thing I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Oh God. No, not between Luke and Leia.
This kiss has taken the cake. This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my lifetime. If I could undo any moment of my life, it would be watching Padme and Anakin kiss after their marriage. It was bad.
And I have to say, like, I really am impressed with Natalie Portman in this movie. I think she's so talented. I think she's an incredible actress.
Who's given her direction?
Mm-hmm. I just don't think that her and Hayden Christensen have any chemistry. I don't think they like each other.
It was so strongly showing that she was uncomfortable up until the moment that she decided she loved him. And that makes no sense to me.
That's what I'm saying is, like, the blueprint of this film seems really cool, but the execution just, like, doesn't work. And the character traits that they gave to Anakin, it's just, it doesn't work. It's not what I envisioned when I was picturing, like, the origin story of Darth Vader.
No, I mean, I don't think I had a vision in my mind, but I'm still very put off by the way that they have these two falling in love. I think it's just very uncomfortable.
Yeah, 100%.
But anyway, that is how the movie ends, which is why I was furious.
It's not good.
It's not good. I'm very upset. But I mean, I have to know what happens next. So
of course.
Our next movie, The Comeuppance of the Sith, is
the best. The Comeuppance of the Sith
is the final film in the prequel trilogy. Mm-hmm. So what could happen?
How many more hands do you think we'll lose?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting any hands to be lost. I mean, now at this point, we've lost 2 in this movie and 0 in the first movie. So that's an average of 1 per movie, really. So maybe we'll lose 1 more.
I like it. I like it.
Who knows?
Yeah, this movie is something. It really is.
It's something. Not something good.
Not something good, but it's something.
But we'll have to keep watching. So we'll be back next week to get on to episode 3. 3 Fast, 3 Furious.
3 comeuppance, 3 Sith.
3 comeuppance, 3 Sith, 3 Jedi Masters, 3 hands cut off. See you next week.
See you next week. You've been listening to the It's All Geek to Me podcast, hosted by Leah and Kelly. Make sure to hit subscribe in your favorite podcast player and give us a rating. You can also follow us on Twitter at All Geek Podcast. New episodes drop every Thursday. See you next week.